I tried.
No one cared about me. I'm gonna get going.
Oh, I have that. Alright, please take your seats so we're not here till midnight.
They build the whole thing for one day of construction. Thank you very much for, resume here.
Alright, I'd like to call the public hearing back to order. We are gonna go with in-room comment first, and then I believe we have some commenters online too. We have the order that was taken, so I believe Heather Zupa is first. Please identify yourself, and
Hi.
please try to keep it to 3 or 4 minutes.
I'll be quick. Hi, everyone. So my name is Heather Zupa. We are very new residents here to Hubbardston.
Address, please.
16 Main Street, right next door. We just moved in here at the end of May, so I actually didn't know any of this was happening. It wasn't disclosed to me when we purchased our house. We didn't know anything about it. I'm so happy I actually just got something in the mail since we've been here saying it, or I would not have even shown up. So we actually just came here from Pennsylvania, and we had an extensive search on home ownership and trying to buy a house. We fell in love with Hubbardston because of the way that it is. Living on Main Street, we did not have to pick that address. We did that willingly because we wanted to be a part of small town Main Street living. I reached out to my realtor once I heard this, and I said, you know, what does a cell tower do to home value? What does this change for my children or anything like that? And the only response she said is, you might need a lawyer. And I said, what does that mean? And she didn't elaborate, so I was very nervous on what all of this means. So for me, just again, if I had known there was going to be a cell tower essentially in my backyard, I probably would not have purchased here. And that's disheartening because we've been here about a month and absolutely love the town. So that's about all I have to say. I'm one little voice, but we're right next door. So yeah, too late for us now. Yeah.
All right, I don't see a number 2
It's on the
list.
back.
Oh. Yes, we have Roger.
Hi, Roger Ford, 80 New Westminster Road. My question was just hypothetical. If in 10 years the owner of the tower decides they want it to be taller, do they have to come before the planning board to get approval to do that? Or now that they own it, can they, if they decide to push the FAA regs and...
You'd have to get another special permit. You'd have to do this all over again.
Okay.
Not only that, but I believe that the height limit is in the bylaw, and it's maxed out at 150 feet.
Okay, alright.
So it would require also a change in the bylaw.
Could they get a variance and go above that?
You're on top of it. Good job.
You can always ask for a variance. I mean, the bylaw is very, very strict about this here. And from that perspective, it would have to be evaluated for whatever reasons, right? And I think as Alice mentioned earlier, it would have to come in front of the board again.
Okay.
But there are regulations on this here.
Is it?
That's it? Rosemary?
I have one question, and it's mostly dinosaur. And it's not, I wanna know in 20 to 30 to 40 years, which goes by quickly as we all know, is it gonna be a dinosaur? Because the homeowner has to pay to take it out, and the company does not have to take it down, according to what I researched. So, say new technology comes in and we have everything in the sky and we don't need it on the ground anymore. So what happens to this tower?
Mr. Parisi, would you like to respond to that?
Please. We are anticipating that it's gonna be there for a very long time. However, the town has a zoning bylaw that says that if it is abandoned or discontinued, the town has the authority to take it down. And in addition, we will post a bond to secure that is annually renewable. And so it would be a condition of the approval. So if 20, 30 years from now, we disappeared, which is unlikely, or it is no longer necessary and is no longer utilized, that the town would be able to require the owner of the tower to take it down, and if they refuse, would have a bond to do it themselves.
Alright, thank you.
Moving down the list, next up is Ed.
Ed Blanchard, 23 East Comet Pond Road. I wanted to ask the applicant, how much time you spent with town personnel when you decided to put a cell tower in town? How much time did you spend with any one of the town personnel as to where the location might be, or where it might be possible to do on a municipal lot that would benefit all of the taxpayers in town? And I also like to state, I'm not anti-cell tower. I think we do need cell tower coverage. My only question is location.
Mr. Parisi?
We looked at your zoning bylaw, and I don't know that there were any town-owned lots other than the lot we're on right now, that, or the school, within the town center district that would be town-owned. And given all the other setback requirements that are required, I don't think this would have been a viable alternative. So we really didn't look at any other town lots, because we looked at the zoning bylaw that said where we were limited to going in that.
So you didn't look at any of the individual parcels that are on the zoning?
We looked at some of them that were within proximity to the town center, but no.
Cause I see one, lot 21, which I think is town-owned, and that's where we're putting up an existing emergency cell tower now for police and fire. And that lot already has an access road, and also borders a huge lot that's owned by the state DCR. And certainly, it says on the sheet that there's an elevation difference, but I can't believe it can be that great. In your analysis there, it's 0.5 miles away from the existing location. So,
we were aware that the public safety was putting up a tower there. It's really apples and oranges. The type of towers that they build and the type of towers we build are completely different. They're built for a whole different style of antenna with a different structural integrity and things like that.
I didn't mean that they go on your tower, but if you were gonna have one tower there, we could perhaps have another tower there, and then it might be easier. But I have another question for the ZBA. Or am I over my 3 minutes?
We'll give you a little more.
Okay. If the ZBA is gonna look at this, will it have to meet the 4 criteria to grant a variance?
Of course, yes.
Okay. If there are other alternatives for the applicant that wouldn't require a variance, why would we grant a variance when he has other options to put it in other locations and not have to seek a variance to do so? You don't have to answer
That's
that.
I was gonna say, is that rhetorical? Or-
Yeah.
Understood.
And what's the appeal timeframe if the zoning board of appeals makes a decision,
It's 21 days.
21 days for an appeal? Thank you.
20 days.
All right, so moving down the list here, Ms. Plord?
Sarah May Plord, 80 New Westminster Road. And my question is similar to Ed's. Why hadn't you considered, is it 21 Gardner Road that you were referring to,
Yeah.
Ed? Just wondering why we're not considering that parcel for the proposed tower. And I'll just leave it at that. Ed already asked the question, but I had the same question. And I'm sorry, can I just ask you a question? So I'm asking you a question, and I'm not getting an answer, or how does that work? The board, the planning board,
Wanna go ahead and answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I know it's on the record now that I've asked the question, I'm just curious how it works.
The planning board, typically what we do is we look at the petition, and based on the merit of the petition and what the applicant is requesting and requiring, and then comparing it to what the bylaws are. As long as the bylaws are met, there's no reason why a planning board can potentially say no. So we just need to really, we have the bylaws to basically tell us whether or not the applicant's requests can be met and are, they have merit. And we're not here to judge. We're really here
No, I
to just
understand.
basically look at it from the
I just
merit
wanted to-
perspective.
Yeah, I understand.
I hope I'm answering your question
Yes,
this way.
you absolutely are,
Okay.
thank you.
Last one was does Vertec actually
I'm sorry,
build
Mr.
these
Blanchard,
or?
I'm sorry, Mr. Blanchard, I think we wanna make sure that everybody gets an opportunity.
If
If
we
you
have
want us to
additional
vary,
time,
we'll do this
We'll
again.
certainly go back to you.
Thank you.
Let's see, so next on the list is Michelle.
I'm Michelle Lovewell, 5 Maple Avenue. I just really don't want a cell tower in my backyard because it's gonna be in my backyard. And there's no way that during the winter time, when those trees are gone, that we're not gonna see that. We're gonna see it and it's gonna be a glaring thing in our, we live at the end of a dead-end road. My house faces those woods. That's all I'm gonna be able to see. And that's really, really upsetting me, as well as my other neighbor who couldn't stay, so she can't be here to voice her upsetness about this as well. Because you can actually see it from her backyard very well with the trees. And so even now when we go into the winter time, we lose the leaves. And yes, there's some evergreens back there, but there's a lot of regular leafy trees. And we're gonna lose them and we're gonna see it. And it will affect our property value regardless.
Everything with us.
All right,
I'm done, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And then moving down the list is Anita and Luigi.
Hi, Anita Bashari, we're at 15 Brigham Street. Unfortunately, our property runs along two sides of where the proposed property for the cell tower is, along the top and all the way down the side. And when we came here 28 years ago, we were looking for a nice place in the country, peaceful, quiet, not a lot of industry, and we found this lovely little house and we bought it. And we were told in no uncertain terms, this is agricultural land. You cannot have a business, you can't have kids here, you can't babysit, you can't do any kind of business at all. You must be agricultural. So we obeyed all the little laws and didn't do anything wrong. And so, the other thing is we planted a lot of trees, and bushes and gardens and stuff. And we enjoyed coming home, and when you go in our yard, most of the back of it, of course, abuts where the cell tower is. So we're gonna have a clear view of this 150-foot tower every time we're outside. And we have 50-foot pine trees that we were nervous about. Now, we've got a 150-foot cell tower that's this close to our property line, and if it falls, buy house. Needless to say, we're not feeling secure, and we're very upset that when we came here, we were told in no uncertain terms, nothing but farming can be done here. And now here we are 28 years later, they're putting in a cell tower. It's gonna destroy our whole beautiful backyard view with the trees and the plants, and all we're gonna look is a 50-foot metal sculpture. That's all we have to
She
say.
also told me to buy the land. I don't want it because I says I gotta pay 24.
Yeah, but now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You have to be careful not listening to your wife.
No, she was right.
Luigi, did you have any additional comments?
Huh?
Did you have any additional comments? I have time, sir, for both of you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that
your
was
additional
my
comment
wife.
is you should've listened to your
Says
wife.
I moved because I was a pilot, I fly plane from Gardiner, you know, I Titanic
You
Gardiner
used to.
before, I used to Titanic Gardiner, my plane. And my son was like to fishing, so that was a perfect home. Brigham Street, he buy a little boat, you know, actually I buy for him. He was fishing over there. I was so happy. Now he don't come anymore. I don't care if they put a tower, just it's the house is gonna lose value
Value,
too.
yes.
I know the engineer, they can make a nice job,
Still
you
gonna
know,
look like a tower.
secure, but what they said to me, I cannot do any business, and now they give the business to the money talk,
So-
right?
Shh, stop there,
Must be money.
stop.
That's the truth.
So,
It's a God.
Gino, stop.
next on the list is, Bill?
Yes, Bill Mayrose, 59 Ragged Hill Road. Even though it looks like my section of Ragged Hill is not gonna get cell service with the new map, I am in favor of getting the tower in town. I currently have a cell phone booster antenna that I have pointed to the tower in Barry right now. At least I'll be able to point this towards a closer one and hopefully the signal. And I do have a landline, but I have it through Charter Spectrum. The problem is if the power goes out, after 2 hours, you lose everything, internet, phone, and TV, and I lose the ability for Wi-Fi calling. So, I'm completely, out, in an emergency. Today, had there not been Wi-Fi calling, I would not have gotten those messages about the thunderstorm warning. So I am definitely in favor of a tower. I'd prefer a better location for me, but I leave that up to the town to decide where.
Doesn't hit Ragged Hill.
Let's see, so, Philip?
Phil Churchill, 26 Main Street. We happen to own one of the other lots, maybe 2 or 3 that this could actually be done in. So I'm familiar with the application. I read the whole application. It's pretty clear to me this is the best possible site in town to pick to do this. It's literally the top of that hill. You're not gonna get a better spot. I can see it clearly from my backyard. I love it. It means I got great cell service. I mean, that's a positive on my resale value of my house, is that I actually have a place with really good cell coverage. Right now, we don't have good cell coverage, and I, rely like everybody else on whatever landlines we have. So I'm totally in favor of this, and I hope that the boards will make whatever variance or waivers are needed here to approve it.
All right, so, Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Goldsmith. I live at 11 Brigham Street. I just had a couple questions about the location of the tower from Brigham Street. How many feet from Brigham Street is the tower? And also, you said you're gonna now be constructing underground power line to the tower. I was just wondering, how long something like that takes in. Also, will there be communications trucks going in and out of there also? For, you said you wanted to be in and out of there by the end of the year, but will there be communication trucks installing communications equipment in there?
Mr. Parisi?
Multiple questions. I don't have it exactly, but we're 240 feet from the property line, and where's my scale here? 200. It's gotta be 1,500 feet to longer, and I'm just guessing, off of Brigham Street. It's from Brigham Street, it's all the way across 9 Brigham Street, and then 200 feet into 14 Main, so we're I'd say it's probably between 1,500 and 2,000 feet off of Brigham Street. With respect, there will be a flurry of construction activity, generally, 6 weeks, I'd say, of the construction. And then once that's over, someone might come by like once a month, and it's not communications truck, it's like a pickup truck. It's something that, a four-wheel drive vehicle, that'll just go out there, yeah, it's fine, maybe tweak some stuff, but, once it's constructed, it's very passive, there's no traffic, there's no constant, trucks out there. It's, all the equipment is remotely monitored, so it's very, non-traffic intensive.
So the tower will be operational by the end of the year?
That's the goal. The issue is weather, it's either gonna be operational by the end of the year or, probably second quarter next year.
Do the customers that are gonna be using the tower have to be approved by the town?
No, we build the structure, and then the antennas that go on it are just a building permit. We build it to the height of the tower, the height of the structure, and then they just, and we've already, like AT&T has already shown on our plans, because we know they're coming on. We know that others will come on, but we haven't gotten commitments from them yet.
You don't know how many customers will be on the tower?
We anticipate 4. There are 4 major companies operating in this market right now: Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Dish Networks, and it's just a function of timing. Some are focused on Boston, some are focused on Hubbardston, but AT&T is committed to coming on as quickly as possible.
Anything else? All right, so moving down the list here, Katie Young.
Katie Young, Bright Hill Road. I'm going to speak to a couple different things on this. Number one is I have been trapped at my house for weeks, especially like during the ice storm of '08, with Charter being out and small children, and absolutely no way to contact a soul for help or anything. If Charter goes out, we do have some serious issues in this town with the lack of coverage, the lack of service, and the lack of safety. Another problem in this town is the lack of safety. The fire department, the EMS, they can't necessarily get cell service at their house. When they hear tones, they hear the tone, they can't hear what comes after the tone, they have to wait for a phone call afterwards. If that is a responder going necessarily to your house for a 911 call, I wouldn't want to be that person calling 911 at the moment and they can't hear the tone. They can't respond to me. It's gonna take that extra bit of time. Other problems that are due to the lack of cell service is businesses in this town. I can't tell you how many times we've had Field Day, Hubbardston Fair, and we've had some of our small businesses in town lose lots of sales. One particular person I can think of with her card, at the last time she was at one of the events, she actually told me, she's like, I just lost $140 sale because it won't go through. That's $140. When you're a small independent business, that's a lot of money. We're killing our small businesses by not having adequate cell service. I can be down at Brigham Pond during the dinghy dash. I can't call anybody. Luckily, the fire department's always there. They are always there because we're having an event. But if there was some other reason I was there by myself doing something and somebody fell into the water, I have nothing. I can't do anything. It's the lack of cell service in this town, and I am a townie, is hard. I don't necessarily like it being in the center of town, but unfortunately that's what the bylaw says for some ungodly reason. But anyway, we need cell service in this town for safety. I've been walking on the trails, totally lost. Good luck finding a cell. I'm just wandering around in people's yards, trying to find my way out for hours with my children, because I do these kinds of things. And it's one of those, you don't really even think about it until you really think about it. How many times have you really needed that cell phone and it hasn't been there? In today's day and age, you drive down Route 2, you drive past so many cell phone towers, you don't even notice them. They just kind of blend in after a while. A cell tower is ugly, but it will blend in. Eventually you won't notice it as much. Some people will still notice it, especially if it's direct view to your house, and that's unfortunate, but for the most residents in town, you're not gonna notice it. So I think this is a good thing for the town. I think our businesses need it. I think a lot of our families need it. I think a lot of our residents need it. I think we need a cell tower. We need to start thinking forward rather than just staying still and stagnant.
Thank you for your comment, and it looks like the last of the first pass through the room is Todd Luker.
Yeah, most of what I was gonna say has already been said, but I'm in favor of the plan. I realize there are some people who are gonna be impacted, but you have to consider the benefits to the whole town. And the fact that lack of cell service almost from border to border is a major handicap for this town. And it's gonna be a real problem in attracting young families to come here. So we can continue to be the town that time forgot. And the decades will not improve, or we can move on. And the safety concerns are probably the most important ones.
All right, thank you for your comment. And Ed, I'll give you another minute as long as it's okay if I ask for the online list at the same time. So please go ahead. Do you have an online comment?
I was just gonna, I can't tell you without,
Okay,
yeah, so
it's not,
there's-
it's not on paper, but you do have online comments.
yes.
Okay, well, we'll come back to them then, so.
Okay, about 20 years ago, AT&T applied in Hubbardston for a cell tower. And at that time, back then, the zoning, the cell tower applicant had to go through the ZBA and not special permit by the planning board. At that time, the cell tower was gonna be put down where all of our gravel pits are. And they had looked at a site there that was adequate to take care of Hubbardston. And the town has the town has in those gravel pits land, which would be available, I would think, for this type of application. And if you know those gravel pits at all, no houses around them, there's no trees. I don't know how far you'd see a balloon test from the road, but AT&T at 20 years ago, Scott, you probably remember that, actually was gonna install one down, I think, near the Bates, by the Bates gravel pit, which is across from Madison Green. So there are other locations. I'm all for getting cell tower, a cell tower and getting increased coverage. But I just think that there are other locations in this town that wouldn't disrupt as many people and would still provide us with great coverage throughout the town. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have online questions and comments.
So there are 3 people who responded or put something in the question and answers. Only one person identified who they were and their address. I did ask when we had the break earlier if there was anyone who wanted to speak, but you can always pose it out to them as well. Do you wanna read this comment, or would you like me to read this comment? Tell me.
Yes, can you read them? But before you do read them, if anybody online would like to be recognized to speak, please put your hand up or shout it out in the chat. This is gonna be the final call for that, and we're gonna go running through the chat now, looking for comment.
Alright, so we have one here. It says, "My name is Debbie Lindsay and I co-own Tiny Toes and Little Bows Photography, 245 Gardner, as well as being a town resident, 31 Bemis Road. As a business owner, I believe that having enhanced cell phone reception would be a great convenience for us and our clients, who often have trouble reaching us when they are looking for directions, etc. As a resident, I feel that this would be beneficial for reaching emergency services and that this is beneficial for all of our safety." That's the only one with an address tied to the person. There is one at the top, Krista Gogwin. I don't have her address on here.
Hold on just a moment.
Oh, sorry.
If you are still on the call, please identify yourself with your name and at least the street that you live on.
Okay, it does not believe this person is still on. So I don't.
I know
if
her
you-
address, if that helps.
So you know that is a real
Yeah,
person?
it's in
Okay,
Pine
go
Crest.
ahead then.
Okay, so it says, it's just a question, I believe, for the applicant. Does the town get money from leasing the tower, or will the company get the money from use of the tower?
Mr. Parisi?
We have leased private property. We pay the landowner rent to be on their property. We then rent space on the tower to various telecommunications companies. The way that the town would get money is, my suspicion is that the tax assessor might assess the land differently as a result of the tower. And our arrangement with the landowner is that if there's an increase in property taxes, we would pay those property taxes. So, I don't wanna tell the tax assessor what to do, but my suspicion is they'll figure it out.
Thank you.
And then there is another one here, that's more commentary. You may wanna call on that person. They appear to still be on the phone, on piece here. It just is from Ralph's.
All right,
I'm not sure who that
can you please identify yourself further? What's the name?
Ralph's. Would you like me to allow them to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, please go ahead. You're on in the entire room? Who is it again?
It says Ralph's.
You're identified as Ralph's. This is your chance to talk.
He's muted.
Try to mute.
It looks like you might still be muted. Oh, I heard a click. Are they still muted?
They are still muted. I've asked to unmute several times, so.
All right, well, we're gonna move on and come back to you. So if you come back, please let us know. Who's next?
That's it. That's all I have.
All right, we're back to you. If you are on as Ralph's, please identify yourself and go ahead.
Seems like you're talking out of space.
All right, going once, going twice. All right, I'm sorry, we have to move ahead with the meeting. Any additional questions from either boards?
I'm just gonna ask one question to the chair, and that is from a technicality perspective, the fact that the tower is greater than 150 feet, does that require therefore a variance because of this pole?
Mr. Murray?
Well, technically, that's the building inspector's call. But normally, spires, antennas, and non-structural appurtenances are not considered as part of the height of the tower. A lightning rod would be one of those kind of things, chimneys, for example.
Yep.
Things that normally project above the roof line, but that truly isn't for me as your consultant to answer. That's for the zoning enforcement officer to answer.
Okay. And I bring this up because we just wanna make sure that this is complete. And if we have some questions that need to be answered by the zoning enforcement officer, we may have to defer to him.
Is that something that we could address with a specific finding if we were to go ahead with it?
No, I think that you would need to get the clarification from the zoning board of appeals before you closed your public hearing process.
Okay.
And you could ask the petitioner to do that.
Did you catch that, Mr. Priest?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident, because we're pretty conscious of that, what the consultant surmised is correct. That the structure itself is allowed to be up to 150 feet, and that non-structural components, like the lightning rod, can exceed it. And I'm just trying to find a site for that.
I think our bylaw is silent on it, to be honest with you.
It's not in the wireless bylaw, I was gonna look in the
No.
regular zoning bylaw.
But overhangs, eaves on houses and those kind of things usually they're not habitable, they're not technically a structural component. So under standard zoning, that kind of is excluded, but that's certainly not my call to make.
Yeah, like I said, we're usually very conscious about that, because most times we have to ask for height variances. In this case, we didn't, and we're pretty conscious about the distinction. I understand the question fully, and I'm just unfortunately I can't find it in your zoning bylaw, but
No, I didn't
either-
see it in the
either-
zoning bylaw either, and that's why I'm asking the question. I would like to just make sure that we understand what our requirements are, and if there is a doubt, how do we clarify that doubt?
And the answer to how we clarify that doubt is?
Zoning enforcement
Zoning
officer.
enforcement officer.
The final word except for them.
All right, Mr. Parisi, can you follow up on that with the ZEO if you don't have the citation for that handy?
Did you just tell me that you don't have a zoning enforcement officer?
We do have an interim zoning enforcement officer.
Okay. Is a new something?
Yep, we have
Okay.
we have an interim.
Okay.
I can, if you let me.
Yeah, who,
I believe right now we're working in combination with a gentleman who's doing it part-time for us, but I don't believe he's doing the zoning side. I believe the zoning side's currently being handled by our legal counsel, KP Law. So if we contact our town administrator, Ryan, you'd be able to put Mr. Parisi in touch with the appropriate individual.
Valerie is still working Monday and Tuesday nights, but you wanna be sure to copy Ryan on anything, because if she can't get to it immediately.
That is it on my end.
Thank you. Okay, so administratively, or rather procedurally from this point, how do we want to get the elephant here? Go ahead.
We need to close the public portion of the meeting, correct?
Well, I imagine we'll be continuing, not closing the public hearing.
From a,
from our
from a planning
perspective.
board perspective.
Yeah,
Or
if,
from a ZBA perspective, you're more than welcome to close it and start your process deliberations.
I believe we're gonna continue as well.
Okay.
I just wanna get the sense.
Okay,
Yeah, clarification on that.
so I think we should close it and understanding, well, not close it, we should not close it, we need to, at this point in time, consider that this is going to be continued, right?
yes,
We gotta pick a date on that.
yeah, we do have to continue to a date certain.
Continue to a time, date, and place certain.
Yes.
Our next meeting schedule is conflicting with my, being out of the country. Just wanna make the planning board aware that I am out from the 30th of July until the 22nd, including the 22nd, so I'm here from the 23rd of August onward.
So that, I believe, is also a question for the petitioner. So, obviously you have to have, there has to be at least 4 people voting, because there has to be 4 yeses if the permit was to be granted. And Francois is gonna be out of the country. We do have the 4 because we do have an alternate member, but you would be in you'd be in a situation where you would have
Just
myself, Alice, Mr. Demalia, and the alternate member.
What would be the date of the next regularly scheduled meeting?
The next regular scheduled
Thursday.
meeting would be the first Thursday, and then,
So August 4th.
yes, but that would be in a situation where you would only have, well, we would only have 3 regular members and the alternate available to vote.
So you want to try to make
That's fine, that's fine, I will move forward.
Mr. Murray?
So, we are gonna get you comments, presuming, the administrative part is worked out. I'm anticipating that they're going to take more than 2 weeks to get back to us. As I explained to Mr. Parisi, our review so far has not found any showstoppers, as we refer to it. We didn't find any fatal flaws in the application, but we do have quite a few areas that we want clarification on. And I'm gonna need 2 weeks to respond to their response to the review. So late August, early September is more appropriate from my office's side.
All right, and Francois, you said you're back the 22nd?
So, on the 22nd, so the Thursday thereafter is the 25th, and we do typically not meet on that, because that's the 4th, Thursday of the month, unless you wish to.
I would be willing to do it.
Okay.
If that worked for everybody else on the planning board.
It would for me, because the 26th I have to pick up Ely at the airport, but, and that's a Friday, so I can make that Thursday.
So do we, would this be a joint meeting again?
No.
I don't believe we need to meet joint meeting.
You agree with that, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So the planning board's gonna meet August 25th at 6:30 here, right?
Yes.
You put-
August 25, which is a Thursday.
That is correct.
Thank you for coming in and comment.
Thank you.
You'll figure it
All right, so.
Is the zoning board gonna meet same time, different date?
We will try to do something similar, but we don't have regular meetings, so we'll have to.
Please hold aside
The
our
only
conversations.
thing you have to announce now for the public, a date and time certain.
We typically announce that to the public, everyone who's here, for the date and time of our next meeting.
I know, but if you're continuing a public hearing, you have to do this, you can't continue it, to an uncertain date and time.
You wanna pick a date and time?
Sure.
Is it possible for that at that continued, hearing on August 24th? I'd ask the applicant.
25th.
25th.
At
25th?
Yes, Thursday.
Thursday, okay. I'd ask the applicant if we could bring to you other sites that were,
16th, Tuesday.
that you might be able to take a look at, that would be easier for you access-wise, and that, would you be willing to take a look at those?
I would encourage you to send them to me anytime and not necessarily on the 25th.
Okay.
The board has an application in front of them and they're asking me to make a decision on that. All the other sites are speculative. I can look at them, maybe we can rule them out summarily, maybe we can say it works, but it would be a year before I would have an application, given the extensive drawings that we were required to do and the amount of engineering. Town-owned property requires town meeting. And we're asking the planning board to make a decision on this site. If the town wanted to pursue other things, they can do it. They've had 20 years to do it. But we're not gonna hold up this process for that. It's just too speculative. But if you wanna provide me with addresses, we can certainly look at it, but my suspicion is we're gonna be ruling them out as opposed to ruling them in.
If you send them to me, I'll forward them along to the applicant.
Exactly.
And the zoning board will be continuing on August 16th, which is a Tuesday night at 6:30.
Perfect.
August 16th.
6:30?
Yep.
We need a
motion to continue.
Continue the hearing, correct.
So, I'm presenting this chair to the planning board a continuation of this public hearing, for the 25th, to the 25th of August, Thursday at 6:30 PM. Take on the matter of, the Vertex application for the wireless communication facility as it has been presented today, and for us to continue at that point in time.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, having a motion and a second, any discussion? All right, let's have a vote, starting with in the room.
Steiger, aye?
Ladai.
Monroe, aye. Mr. Demalia?
Demalia, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Erica, yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Part of it.
All right, so our regular meeting is still open. That just closes the public hearing portion of the planning board meeting. You guys are still open for the public meeting and still open for everyone.
Right.
We
Can I have a motion to continue our meeting on to August 16th at 6:30?
I'll make a motion, we continue the public hearing to Tuesday, August 16th, 6:30, location to be determined, somewhere around here.
Yes, I can do have a second.
I think you have to just say town hall or, town hall. And my suspicion would be here, but if you were in there, it wouldn't matter, or across the hall.
Usually meet over there.
That might.
And I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Can I have a motion to close our regular meeting?
I'll make that motion, close our meeting.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Okay, the only thing I wanna tell you is, I got an email from Mallory on Tuesday night saying she wanted paper. And I was actually out of the office, and I spent 3 hours at Staples today printing all this paper. If anyone wants it, she wasn't sure whether, I think she had electronically transmitted most of the applications. But I have the original application, I got, Mr. Murray's 90 pages of drainage calcs, I've got photo simulations, these are all they've, all been submitted, and I have the new site plans.
Mr. Murray definitely wants them.
Yeah, right. Do you want these? I'll give you those.
What do you want to give to Mallory?
What's that?
You got things you want to give to Mallory?
No, Mallory had said bring 12
Mallory
copies
has
of
everything, she just wanted to know whether you guys wanted paper.
She usually brings us.
Right, so, wait, well, there's,
I would like to.
and what I'm thinking is that we had several meetings with the planning board, and they got stuff, the zoning board didn't get any stuff from Mallory. So here's the photo simulations, there's 5 sets there.
I think I have one.
I'd like the one for that, and I'd also like a set of the drawings too.
Okay, here's the drawings right here. I don't think you care about the drainage calc, so I'll do these. There's 5 there.
Thank you.
And,
I think there's some residents who are interested to
okay,
have the extra.
yep. And I don't know whether you guys got the whole application package?
Yeah, I believe you did.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll take a paper one, yeah.
The original application had site plans, but we revised it, so I didn't attach those to these. But you got the more than site plans. And I have more, the planning board seemed interested in the, I gave the summary of the drainage calcs. I gave Mr. Murray all 90 pages, but I only gave him 9 or 10 pages. I want them.
Those are online too, because we
Exactly,
did
exactly.
receive.
Everything else is electronic online, so.
And that's fine.
You want it.
I still would like to have if you don't mind, one of those maps, not the maps, I'm sorry, no, oh yes, that's.
It's in there, just have the drainage calcs on
I
it.
apologize, yes, that's what I meant, thank you so much.
And planning board, we probably have another 15 minutes for this stuff.
Mr. Murray, I apologize to have I'm out of the country, and I'm just all the way back. I was not planning on,
My suspicion is my suspicion is you're going someplace that I'm gonna be jealous about, so.
You're gonna be very jealous of it, yes.
Very nice in Europe.
Did they? I remember the
We're still in session, so.
Session, everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.
I'll tell you,
For a long
I was
time.
at Paris 2 years ago, and I never tell anybody I'm going on vacation, because I can't.
Excuse me, Fran?
Zoom here.
Excuse me, Fran, are those available for the public?
Absolutely, yes. That's like the whole application package.
Yeah,
If I were
I
giving you
saw it
some-
online, but
I'm gonna
I
give you
was
that.
too cheap to print it out.
Take that, take that.
Thank you.
One of the smaller ones.
I typically would have done so, but my wife will not permit me.
Many copies.
So,
I didn't realize it would
Thank
be,
you.
okay.
Thank you.
yeah,
This,
it's a
if I was
6
tuning in
hours.
remotely, you know, it'd be
All right.
1:00 in the morning.
Yeah, no kidding.
On my vacation. It's like,
My wife
oh
is-
yeah, Francois.
All right, so let's move forward because we're burning.
We're way over time here.
So the next thing on new business is this discussion that came up related to the housing authority.
I'm sorry, are we still being recorded or not?
Right, gotcha.
Oh,
Yes.
we are, okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Right.
Yep. Right, so the next thing on the agenda, moving forward with the rest of the planning board meeting, is this email that came from Ryan about the housing authority.
Yep.
And there's apparently people who want to step up and volunteer for the housing authority. And the housing authority has some pretty broad responsibilities. Some of those kind of butt up against what we do as the Affordable Housing Committee. And there was a suggestion that we should have a conversation about, well, how do we feel about restarting the housing authority? Should more of the affordable housing go to that and be formally part of its charge? And really the reason that, well, one of the reasons that this kind of came up interesting to me is some of the feedback we got when we were talking about Streeter Road, because there were some residents that had commented that were, so their position was, so you're essentially the instigator and you're the approving authority for this at the same time, so it kind of put us in a little bit of a challenging position. But I think we're also in a place where maybe if it doesn't stay with us, the work doesn't get done. So I wanted to open the discussion up to the board and see what everybody thought about that.
Me go first?
Yeah. go ahead.
Absolutely.
So we have, this position is defined in our bylaws, is to consist of 5 members, each for a term of 5 years. 4 members to be elected and 1 member to be appointed as a state appointee. So this is not something that the select board can say, okay, you two, can nominate it. This is in our bylaw, this is how it's gotta go, right? Unless you're gonna change the general bylaw. So so you're creating a board that's like the planning board, 5 members, five terms. So you gotta find 5 people that'll sign on for 5 years, and it's a much bigger scope of stuff than our little housing committee. They are supposed to, by their statutory definition, they're in charge of the sort of clearance of substandard, decadent, and blighted open areas. They are in charge of providing for housing for families or elderly persons of low income, engaging in land assembly and redevelopment project. It says they have to go through deliberative processes, which we didn't, such as taking into consideration the need for relieving congestion of the population, inhabited dwellings, the shortage of safe and sanitary dwellings, especially for elderly people, providing rental. I mean, this is a big obligation. And I think absolutely this is what we need in town, and we need people to staff it that are 100% in, 100% willing, that are not there because they're NIMBY people and they want to direct it somewhere else besides their backyard. It needs to be a very serious board to do this. And I question, absolutely we should do this. It's been vacant for 40 years or 20 years or, yeah. And that's why we have 3% housing, affordable housing, when the state says 10. So the question is, are we gonna get serious about it? The next big project would be, if the Lot to 57 gets cleaned up, it's gonna be it's a very serious project to build some kind of senior housing there, if that's what we wanna do with it, or affordable housing, if that's what we're gonna do with it. I know in Paxton, it took the committee 10 years to get it done. So you need really dedicated people to do this.
Are you asking whether or not, is your comment the fact that these are volunteers and that you have concerns that they don't necessarily understand the scope of the work, or?
Well, I mean,
where are you coming
Ryan
from?
he says 2 people that approached him that are interested, and my
Mhm.
question is, I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
But they need to be subjected to a vote by the voters, they need to understand what their obligations would be if we're gonna reenact them in this board, right?
Well,
I mean, you could have an affordable housing committee, an ad hoc affordable housing committee that wasn't the planning board, I suppose. But he's talking about very specifically putting the housing authority back into commission.
yes, Katie?
I guess there was 3 people that have spoken up,
2 or 3.
Yeah, and there's one already on there that was actually elected, but as the select board, we can appoint for 1 year until the next election, then they'd have to run.
Yeah.
So that would consist of 4 people to make a board of 5,
So the select board is the appointing body in this particular case?
to my
Only if
knowledge
there's
we
a,
are.
only if there's a vacancy.
Yeah,
Well, I'm asking
yes,
about
yes.
vacancy specifically.
Yes.
The reason I bring this up, and it's just a technicality, there is nothing in the bylaws that states who the appointing body is. There's only 2 appointing body mentions, there's only twice that the appointing body is actually mentioned for the select board. One is for the associate member, Karga, and the other one is for the agricultural commission. And everything else, it leaves it very open.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just a gap that at some point in time, the select board may want to review and figure out how to make sure that that is very clearly stated in the bylaw.
Maybe they
Go ahead.
don't. Yeah, that's right.
Reappoint.
Go ahead.
That, Mrs. Monroe.
Thank you. So the only other piece to add on that, Francois, to your point, is the select board has been talking, and Ryan has brought it up a couple times, and I believe there's actually a provision in our bylaws that talk about it as well, that will we have these elected positions,
Yep.
when there's been a failure to elect for a period of time, it's something that goes before the select board to decide whether or not we continue having it as an elected position, or if we modify it to appointed. So that
Sure.
you can continue to have bodies, people filling those positions, but you don't have to have, after every election, I feel like we keep having to have joint meetings like
Sure.
crazy just to fill the positions that no one ran
Yeah.
for.
I think we need to have clarity on this one here, okay? So that we don't even know who these, at least I don't know who these other individuals are, right? Do you know? Other than
The names
Mr.
were
Alphonse,
on
who I
it,
believe
but-
is the one person who's part of the Housing Authority and has been for a number of years?
There was only one name on the email that came to us.
Oh, okay.
Was it?
Yeah, the only name we got was Dennis O'Donnell.
He's already on there.
He's a, oh, he is
Yeah,
on.
there was three
Yep.
three others,
Okay.
and I can't remember their names off the top of my head. There's been so many people that we've appointed recently that didn't run and wanna sit for 1 year and.
Okay, again, I didn't wanna go down a
Yeah,
rat's hole on
sorry.
this here, but I did, no, myself, I did not wanna go down a rat's hole, but I just wanted to point this one thing out. So, my take here is that for the very little that has happened, which is a lot, on the housing and affordable housing, and, a lot of it having to do with Alice, it's really rare to see any kind of progress in that area. I do personally have some concerns as to the understanding, the willingness of maybe potentially these individuals to really understand what they have to do. However, again, if the opportunity arises and that's what they're tasked to, I think we ought to potentially give them not only the support and the go-ahead, but I think we need to very clearly define where do we take the areas of responsibilities that we've taken over and what do we hand over and what do we keep theoretically as part of the planning board so that we can continue pursuing. Case in point is for example, we've done quite a lot of work with the with regards to the tax taking and with the lots that we were able to provide. The question is what do we do then once we get that? Do we hand that over to the housing authority? I think so. Those handshakes need to be clearly delineated, and that's probably part of not only our responsibility, but maybe also working this out with the town administrator and the new housing authority.
Maybe working together.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
that's exactly what I'm saying, is we have to work together, but I think we have to make sure that we understand what those handshakes are and not leave things either implicit or sort of like in limbo, so nothing happens again for the next 10 years and we get ourselves into trouble.
Alice is giving me a look.
No, I don't have the answer to it. I actually think having a housing authority that works
Makes
would be a
sense.
huge
Yeah, absolutely.
asset, and they should take over all of
Yep.
the housing stuff we
Yeah.
do.
And I think we should not be paternalistic about it, that because we did such a great
Yeah.
job about it
And-
with the little thing that we did, which was a lot, again, I say, that other people cannot do it and pick up the ball from there.
Well, yeah, you just don't want it going stagnant, you know, you
Right.
don't want it to just, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And it should have, one of the appointees, if you're gonna appoint, should be somebody that's on that senior board, if they're willing to do it, because they have the greatest need in this town by far.
You mean over, Council on Aging or something?
I like the idea that it could potentially transition to an appointed position. Cause I think it would give more of an ability to go out and hunt down qualified people with specialized skills, as opposed to just throwing it up in the air and see where it lands. Plus with the fact that there hasn't been a full election for it, I think the select board has tons of ground to claw it back and make it an appointed position. Plus it would also make it so it could be set up where there would be an ex officio delegate to it, and I think it would most certainly get one from the planning board. I think it would certainly be necessary, because to the question earlier about the projects, the way I look at this, it wouldn't so much be that we would pass them off, it would be that, well, they were housing authority projects. Is the way that I read this, and if it existed and it was energized, I think it would be huge. And at least in my mind, moving that affordable housing responsibility to them, I think would be good, especially if it was a cross-functional team. Cause like one of the issues that we had come up is like when we were, was it 57 Pitcherville?
Yep.
Just going back and forth and communicating with the select board and trying to figure out what was going on with that, it was challenging. Even having very good access to a member of the select board, it was still challenging to try to figure it out. Because it was, well, we're too busy to talk about that now, but, hello? But having an appointed committee where there were ex officio people and it was engaged, I think could be transformative to how some of those issues are dealt with. Because just about the cleanup, we spent 6 months just trying to interface and communicate information with the select board and try to figure out what's going on now. And even now, it's still sometimes challenging, because now that the select board's been working on the actual cleanup project, where we don't always get updates right away on where it's currently at and where it's going. So having it be done in that kind of way where it's easier to share information, I think would be huge.
I would agree.
All right, so any further discussion on that?
No.
All right, so moving down, MRPC solar grant. So we got the grant, the agreement is signed. The version that got put in our documents, I don't believe was actually the countersigned version. Supposedly, we should have been kicking off to meet with them for this meeting. But that didn't happen, and I haven't heard anything from them about setting it up. Although Ryan is gonna help us make sure that gets kicked off. But the timeline had a kickoff discovery session with the planning board for July. That's clearly not gonna be the case, so we're gonna need to figure out how that's gonna move forward.
I also was told that they weren't interested in taking this up until they finish the master plan, because it's the same team from MRPC. So the reason that this got signed was because it was kind of a use it or lose it situation where they had to sign us up. So I don't know how interested. I would think you could call them and say, can we push this back so it begins in September maybe?
So we have a lot going on with MRPC. The other one is the project that the EDC is working on with the town center overlay district, which, based upon the conversations we had tonight, is important in a whole bunch of ways past just the town center itself, because that serves as a marker for other overlays like the wireless communication. The project's gone cold over the last couple months, and the chair of the EDC has been reaching out to MRPC and hasn't really heard back anything definitive on it. I don't know if Katie, if you've heard anything different from EDC.
She's crickets.
Yeah.
That's what she's getting, crickets.
And Ryan's been suggesting to that he'll become more involved and try to figure out where it's going, but we're ending up with a pile of MRPC projects, and somewhere the communication is breaking down. So we need to have kind of, I don't know, I guess a come back to the table communication improving meeting, and I don't know if that means we have the EDC and the planning board meet with whoever the new town administrator is or whoever is serving at the current moment and ask MRPC, hey, we've got 3 projects going with you, they're all kind of caught up in limbo, what's going on? Can we talk about this? And maybe ask nicely if somebody there will come and explain where it's at, because I think it's mostly a communication issue that's happening.
Should they be invited to the next meeting to explain?
We certainly can.
Or should we simply shoot out a letter, not a letter, but an email?
There's been a lot of emails.
Okay, so probably having them come in?
I do think we should say, put a priority on these, you know, and the top one should be, let's finish the master plan, so close.
Yep.
Yeah, because and I don't know possibly where the miscommunication there is. Supposedly it's gonna be distributed at the next all boards meeting. The implementation chapters of it. I don't know that there's an all boards meeting scheduled. I don't know if there necessarily will be one scheduled. Cause I know that was something that Dan was really working on, and Dan's no longer with us. So there will likely be one at some point in the future, so I don't know if that's the holdup or what's going on, but it's.
I think they can distribute the matrix to all the boards, we don't have to meet to distribute the matrix. And then have a follow-up meeting with MRPC
Yeah.
there, I mean, the matrix is kind of formulaic, really, right? So he
Yep.
should be able to do that. And I think that, we should tell our MRPC that before we jump into the solar, let's finish the master plan and aim for a spring meeting, next annual town meeting for the solar bylaw to be finished.
You're talking about next year's 2023 town meeting.
Yeah, and
Not
let's
the
try to
whole
have the master plan completely done in the next 3 months. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
been dragging and dragging.
Absolutely. So I'll give myself an action item to reach out to Ryan and ask him, because he did suggest that he would get more involved with this, although he is down to, 3 weeks left?
Less-ish.
No, yeah, August 16th.
Yeah, so he's not
2016.
here that much longer, so maybe it stays in limbo another month. I'll push on it and see what I can do with it, cause we do have to keep it moving, cause we have too much stuff piling up. Anything else on that?
No, but can we go back and do approving Places Associates invoice, even though Mr. Parisi hasn't seen it? So that if Mr. Parisi agrees,
Yep.
they can get started?
So let's, we'll call that under matters not reasonably anticipated by chair.
Okay, so, so Bill has sent us this invoice for reviewing the Vertex plan. Does not include drafting an opinion, right?
No, that's pre-submission review.
Pre-submission review, okay. So, this total is 6,000 and it's broken down into components.
Oh, no, that's my proposal.
The proposal, right.
Oh, that's for the, it's not an invoice.
Right,
It's a
I'm
proposal.
sorry, I misspoke, it's the proposal for doing it. My only thinking is that you wanna get started on this and you need the go-ahead,
I've already started.
well, right, but it has to be both approved by the person that's gonna pay it, so we gotta get it to
Yeah.
Mr. Parisi, which was an oversight, and then it has to be approved by the board, subject to his, because we pay you, he doesn't
Correct.
technically pay you. So, it was in our documents, everybody's had a chance to read it. It's definitely a big project with a lot of points to review, there's no question. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proposal for the review of the Vertex plan by Places Associates as presented in the letter of July 7, 2022. Subject to Mr. Perusi's also approval of that
Right.
figure.
Do we have a second?
I would like to second that motion.
All right, hearing a motion and second, do we have any discussion?
No.
Go ahead.
No.
All right, since we are online, we'll be having a roll call vote. We'll do in person first.
Steiger, aye?
Ladai,
Monroe, aye.
Demalia, aye.
vote.
Erica Dack, aye.
Thank you. That is approved.
Subject to.
Do you want me to
Subject.
send this to him, or are you gonna send it to him?
I can send it to him tomorrow if you tell me that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
send
okay.
it to him
Okay.
tomorrow, cause
Yeah.
he'll call you anyway with questions, all right,
He'll
Yeah.
probably call me.
We
okay. And
we
then Bill-
appreciate the help while we're
Thank
at
you,
staffing
Bill,
level.
yeah, well, it's
I just,
challenge.
without your permission, I cannot send it to him
Yes.
You have
directly.
our permission.
Yes, you may send it. Anything else under matters not reasonably anticipated by chair?
I just wanted to note that on your kickoff meeting for the solar, I'd like to be there for that, cause I have a lot of ideas.
Okay.
We need to clean things up.
And to that effect, we need the bylaw updates.
Yeah, we-
I'm
we
sorry
s-
to harp on that, but we need to get the.
We started having the conversation with that. Lori got the stuff pulled aside, but this was a big distraction on pushing that forward for this meeting. But we
I
are
understand.
actively working on that. On the same vein, I started putting together a kind of a strategic list or a project list that we can put on as an exhibit to our agenda with a disclaimer, essentially saying that we're not gonna have substantive discussion related to them, just so we can kind of keep that project tracking list
Sure.
there.
That's a good solution. I like it.
And,
Oh,
yeah, I had that recommended to me by someone from the select board.
yeah. Smart lawyer, you know.
So that's,
Good counsel.
yeah, so that's what I do, and I think it'll help us stay on track for some of that stuff. Because we have a lot of other projects that have been kind of on the back burner. And rightly so, we had no more time to do anything else tonight anyways.
And I just wanted to quickly ask, I mean, there is nothing on our plate that we are planning on presenting as part of the fall town meeting, right? Or is there? So we need to kind of prioritize, because the timeline is also shrinking very fast.
The timeline is shrinking. There are two other possible things that could come up for the fall town meeting. One would be the broader revisions to the marijuana bylaw that we've been kind of sitting on for a little while. Then the other one is the agricultural accessory use, or however you want to term it. The problem that came up with that is, well, really, there's two problems. The planning board's been taking up more time lately than it was in the past, and the other one is the Attorney General and some of her language about area restrictions for zoning, I believe, would also apply to what we were trying to do with the agricultural accessory bylaw. And we were essentially structuring it the same way, where the area of land was going to be tied to the uses, and arguably we weren't doing it in a way where I think it would stand up to the same. I can't remember if they were trying to say it was strict scrutiny that would apply. It definitely doesn't strict scrutiny. I'm not even sure it does rational basis. So for standard of review, so that slowed that down. I'm back to the drawing board with that.
Also, the town has to approve the master plan.
Yes.
So maybe we can use that in incentive to actually get it done. We'd like to get it on the fall warrant.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see those three things. Plus, I think we had some other language we needed to clean up too, and there's potentially more language from the bylaws.
Yes, there
that-
is.
I go on
Things
that.
that Lori thinks she can't make, goes beyond clerical, whatever.
Yeah.
If you make a list of them, we could do a sort of a package deal bylaw.
Yeah, so
with
the
amendments.
the idea that the fall meeting could still have some element of being zoning palooza is still alive, but it's waning. Ms. Monroe?
Thank you. So at our select board meeting, 2 meetings ago, I think it was the 11th,
I don't know, they're all blur at this point.
we actually discussed, special town meetings. We're going to have one most likely for the school. They just revised their version of what they're gonna charge us, for our assessment, so we're gonna have one for that. There was discussion on the board on whether or not we could just have one meeting and be done until annual next year, or if we needed two. And the discussion came up that it was our understanding that the planning board had lots of zoning work they wanted to do, and sometimes it's easier to do this in a sole meeting where there's only 1 or 2 articles as opposed to going 6 hours if there's any questions and so forth at the annual. So we did talk about doing the special late, I think we said late summer.
Special
The
meeting.
first special school meeting,
Yes.
SSS, sometime late summer, and then coming back and doing a fall meeting prior to Thanksgiving in November, to provide the planning board with enough opportunity to be able to produce your pieces. But if it's the opinion of this board that you're not sure if you're gonna be able to get to it, definitely let us know right away, and we won't consider having that second meeting, cause we were looking at that second meeting purely for the purpose of being able to deal with zoning articles.
November, I think there's a pretty good chance that we're ready for that. I was thinking that it would likely be falling in early October, which would be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Late November prior to Thanksgiving is
Yeah.
what we discussed 2 weeks ago.
I feel
As a
like,
target.
I feel like we can at least, well, it's gonna depend upon the conversation with MRPC.
Right.
Cause I think the town center is probably off the table, that's probably not gonna get there. If we get particularly motivated about some of the bylaw edits, which we can, now that this is essentially pushed off for a month.
We should be able to do the
Before.
master plan, and that has been, that's way overdue.
So just keep in mind that, because we have the provision that we have to mail out to every resident in town that there's a town meeting, it does cost us a little bit more than it normally would, plus there's always staff time going with it. So if you guys are not 100% confident or it's not super pressing, we can wait till the annual, or if there's anything you think that, to your point, you're not gonna probably be done by the end of summer, but if we're leaning more towards one town meeting, it's important for us to know, I think, by Monday, cause we're opening the warrant, so we'd let people know that.
Well, we're opening the warrant for the school,
Yes,
August.
a special one, but
Yes.
other things could jump on it if
Yep.
they knew there wasn't gonna be a fall town meeting, so. It's just a cost piece and we just wanna make sure we have all the information.
Master plan would be
Probably-
lovely if we
probably
could do it.
not
but-
by August. We won't have anything ready by August. I think we'll know if we're on track to have stuff ready for November in August, but we won't have anything ready for August.
So we'll pencil in the November one for now.
Yep. All right, anything else for, it's late, for the last 3 items on the agenda, anybody have any comments about anything?
Old business, administrative matters. Public comments?
Any remaining
Please,
comments from the public?
Your meetings are too long.
It's all your fault.
Yeah.
Who is filling in for Mallory? Anybody yet, or is it just?
It's just Mallory on Monday nights and Tuesday nights. That's why we had a member of the select board here trying to figure out the Zoom.
Take a
alright.
motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
I present a motion to adjourn this
Second.
meeting.
And
None
no
dis-
discussion,
no
let's
discussion. Not debatable.
have a vote.
Livedall aye.
Steiger, aye.
Monroe, aye.
Amelia, aye.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.